right, listen, here we are with my dear friend, who I've known for 200 years. Right, we don't speak of those things. We still look really good. Now, for the three people out there who don't know who you're looking at, I'm not gonna talk about your acting accolades just yet, because we're gonna get into your career and how that is your workplace. Okay?
You're the boss, Paul.
Yeah, I'm the boss. So I just want to say really quickly, because I know this is only a partial list, awards from the Los Angeles LGBTQ Center, awards from Lambda Legal, awarded by GLAAD, Outfest, Latino Spirit Award from the California Latino Legislative Caucus, the Harvey Milk Equality Award, Lincoln Aston Public Service Award, Advocate Award from Ad Color. You have served as the national spokesperson for GLAAD, and you are currently on the board of GLSEN, and you are a first-generation American of Puerto Rican descent. That alone is enough for us to talk about. But today we're going to talk about my advocacy in the workplace. And the theme of this year's summit for the Out and Equal Global Summit is the business of belonging. And I'm here with my good friend, Wilson Cruz. Welcome, Wilson.
Thank you, Paul. It's nice to be with you.
It is nice to be with you. We don't get to see each other enough.
I know. I mean, we do, but times have not allowed us to be in the same room. We live in revolutionary times, and we need each other in order to get through these moments. Growing up, there were really debilitating headlines, and that continued through the 1990s and the 2000s. And so when when you're an activist and you're in the process of fighting for your life and equality, you need your fellow soldiers. And so you are one of the people on my call list.
Can you talk about what was your family life and coming out, and was there a conservative, maybe in your extended family? Was there a vibe like that, or what was the vibe personally for you?
My family was, growing up, was influenced by the Catholic Church. I was first generation born here in the States. Both of my parents were born in Puerto Rico, and the Catholic Church plays a big role in Puerto Rico, culturally, and so there was a lot of education that I had to do as a young gay boy, with my family, because there was no information that came into them except for what they were hearing from the Catholic Church. Right. So it was just me and a millennium, versus a millennium old religion. So I got it. But I have to give my family credit, because there was so much that they had to overcome, that the only thing that could allow them to overcome, like I said, a millennium's worth of ignorance, is love. And I never for a moment doubted that my parents loved me. I knew that they didn't understand me at that time when I came out to them. But I never in my heart of hearts believed that they didn't love me. I knew that. They were disappointed, and I had to educate them through that. Mm-hmm. But our relationship now is, I talk to my parents every day, and they are my biggest support group. They are my biggest fans. And, I would be lost without them. And I was lost for a year. I was estranged from my father for a year of my life. And it was the best and worst year of my life. Well, I have to tell you, the way that my father and I ended up bridging that divide was through these very difficult and bluntly honest conversations. So we, like I said earlier, were estranged for a year, and he reached out to me and he said, you should come home and we should talk. This was after he watched an episode of My So-Called Life in which my character was kicked out of his home as well. And so I said, okay, yeah, I'd love to come see you and talk, but I need you to know that if we're going to have this conversation, I'm going to be as completely honest with you as I possibly can. And I need you to do the same. because otherwise we'll never get beyond this.
Right.
And so I showed up at my parents' house with a 6-pack of beer.
At what age?
Huh?
At what age? At what age?
Oh, I was 20. I was 20 by this point. I was 20.
Okay.
And and I said to him, I said, I need you to be able to ask me all of the uncomfortable questions that you need to ask.
Right.
And I promise you that I'm going to answer them as honestly as I possibly can because I love you. And then we drank a beer. And we managed to have that conversation, which to this day is still the most difficult and satisfying conversation I've ever had in my life.
I was going to ask you, like, the sense of awareness that you were planting a flag on your career that would follow you around for the rest of your career, for better or for worse, or were you just like, I want this role, I happen to also be LGBTQ, and I'm going to just say it? Did it just, or were you thinking about it, or were you just?
Oh yeah, that's all I thought about. Here's the thing about workplace discrimination, right? I think about what messages you receive as a young person about what you're going to be allowed to do if you're queer, what jobs you think you'll be allowed to have safely. And so growing up, I knew, that I was an actor. I mean, it's all I ever wanted to do. It's all I ever wanted to be. I clearly, thank God, was given a few gifts. And then once I got my foot in the door, I just sucked the rest of it in. But so, I knew I was on this path. I knew what I was going to do. And I knew that I was going to be out that I was going to be out at some point. I had the wherewithal at 15 or 16 years old to know my own humanity, to know my own worth. And I believed that being a gay man shouldn't stop me from having a successful career.
I'm really curious about Comic-Con, your experience with and this is why, because a lot of people think like Comic-Con is not a space for gay people, that we're not into like the superheroes and the comic books and that. But tell me, we're everywhere, I know, but tell me what your experience has been. Have the gay kids shown up and be like, yeah?
So, we are in the convention world. We're, like you said, we're everywhere. There's always going to be an element who is unhappy about something. So yes, there have been some very loud voices who are clearly ignorant and homophobic and have been very verbal about how they feel about it. I honestly could not care less. I really couldn't, because if there has ever been a franchise that's been about equality, about humanity at its best, it's Star Trek. And so when you tell me that you have a problem with LGBTQ people in Star Trek, you're telling me that you're not really understanding the message of the entire franchise.
I remember reading about Nichelle Nichols wanting to leave Star Trek after her first season because she was like, oh, no, it ain't no black people, I can't. And Martin Luther King Jr. himself wrote to her and said, please don't leave. My children see you and you're the only example they have. So I feel like there are young people out there. There are people who are starting their careers to try to be the dental assistant or enter the corporate world. And they're in that interview and it strikes them at some point that I feel like I'm close to getting this job. And at the Christmas party, I want to bring my girlfriend or my boyfriend, or at the company picnic, I want to bring my same-sex partner or my non-gender partner who wants to be referred to as they, them, their. And it strikes them, even before you get the job, or maybe right after you get it, you say, oh, I'm looking around. And how do you feel, or when do you feel is the right time to say, or do you just show and don't tell? Like what this is what we're here for. Supreme Court has stepped up to the plate and done what I think is almost even bigger than making marriage.
Well, first of all, I agree with you that this Supreme Court decision is probably more far-reaching and substantial to our lives than even the marriage equality ruling. Because we're talking about access. It's the message that we're sending to our young people and to the entire community that who you love, how you identify, has no bearing and should have no bearing about your ability to do your job and to do it well and to be proficient and an expert in that field. You should not be dissuaded to pursue a career in a certain field just because of your fear of being outed or being fired because of who you are. So for me, this ruling is an unleashing of our community and allows us to bring all of our superpowers to our job. And you know, to answer your question, when do I think it's appropriate to disclose? I think you disclose right away. I think we live our lives. I think what the Supreme Court has done has said, live your life. Now it's up to society to catch up, right? So I think our job is to be present, to be authentic, and yes, to be vulnerable enough to live our lives out loud so that we can allow people to understand us and our lives better. Those of us who have been firsts, like I was the first gay actor to play an openly gay character on TV. Ellen was the first lesbian LGBT person to lead her own series. I can go on and on, but the reason why those firsts are important is because those people, whether they want to or not, whether they're aware of it when they do it or not, are teaching the rest of society how to treat us. We are letting them know what we deserve, how we deserve to be treated. So this first generation of people who are in the workplace because of this Supreme Court decision have a responsibility to make it easier to work and live and prosper in our workplaces. And so we get to set the tone. We get to do it now.
Very well said. What a way to close. Thank you, Wilson Cruz. Everyone keep shining, keep showing yourselves, keep sharing yourselves. We're going to get through this. And I'll talk to you soon, all right?
I love you.